Welcome. Scott here. Here is a quick boss guide for the upcoming LUFENIA Plus event, Shelke the Transparent. The featured units are Vayne from Final Fantasy XII, Shelke from Final Fantasy VII, Dirge of Cerberus, Cait Sith from Final Fantasy VII, Fujin from Final Fantasy VIII and lastly Lulu from Final Fantasy X. This event also marks the debut of Shelke's LD. Be prepared for some sweeping and machine-destroying action as we will be fighting a dragonfly chopper, which have 21 million HP. It can summon a sweeper which has 1.8 million HP. The turn requirement is 85. The HP requirements is 15,000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the raid was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in global. Firstly, let's go through the LUFENIA Plus orb conditions. The LUFENIA Plus orb conditions for the fight requires you to restore 2 skills to uptick the orb. Restore the 2 skills will result uptick the orb by 10. The orb will be activated at the 79% HP threshold with the counter of 10. It is a non-cancelable orb. There isn't a lot of units that can help for the orb. The recommended orb helpers to use are Vayne, Shelke, Prompto, Ishtala, Dark Knight Cecil and Agrias. These units can restore abilities via either their LD or EX. Do note that Vayne can work with his LD or EX plus 3. You can also use units that can restore 2 skills via their AA. Examples are Quistis, Trey, Squall, Amidadalion, Arcela and Pinlo. If you use Onion Knight LDCA, use it on the AA twice to have 2 refill utility. If you love challenges, you can try to use King or Yuri for the fight. I personally won't recommend it to use them because the boss have a massive HP pool. As these abilities are limited, try hold back the use of these restore abilities as long as possible until the time that you really need to use them. Now let's proceed with some party setup recommendations. Recommended calls abilities. To ensure that you are able to constantly break them, it is important to inflict defense down debuffs. Example of calls abilities that inflict defense down calls are Ferris, Jack, Titus. As the boss has a huge amount of HP damage up debuff calls like Kareza May, Gabrinth, Ignis are useful. Although a bit trickier to use, Aura type HP damage up calls like Queen and Kimari are also viable. Next, I will be covering units that will be useful to handle the fight mechanics. Units that are able to inflict the confusion will make the fight a lot easier. They are Agrias, Mog, Waka and Purim. Agrias is the MVP for the fight since she has on-demand confusion while the rest requires some RNG to trigger. She also have skill refill utility as well. Like previous LUFENIA Plus events, having a designated support for the auras are important. Examples include Setzer, Bartz, Yuna, Iroha, Cait Sith, and Ishtala. Next, you will need damage dealers that delay, re-breaks, or have turn manipulation. These will be ideal so that you can push back the sweepers while you focus on attack the main boss. Example of such units are Sid Reigns, Titus, Zell, Tira, Quistis, Garland, Arania, and Cloud of Darkness. If you are not bringing units that have delay, do considering bring them as calls. Cloud and Cypher are good viable options. Lastly, you will probably need some form of damage mitigation. My recommendations include Zac, Beatrix, Core, Prompto, and 9. Units that are highlighted with green borders have skill refill utility so they can help you on the orb as well. Do you notice that Agrias has a yellow border? She is the MVP for the fight and bulk of the JP runs feature her. Don't worry too much if you don't have her. I am sure that there will be content creators going to do runs that not featuring her. Before I going with the details of the boss mechanics, here is the summary of the two main methods that JP players use to handle the fight. The first one is the sweep, destroy and sweep method. The second one is the confusion method. The first method is the tougher route since you don't have any confusion debuff to prevent the boss from gaining the 100% evasion. You need to kill the sweeper first before you can continue to attack the main boss. Once you approach a HP threshold, the boss will automatically summon the sweeper. You need switch your focus back to the sweeper. Destroy the sweeper and you are able to attack the main boss again. Attack the boss until the next threshold. Repeat the process until the boss is dead. The second method is the easier route and you will most likely need to use Agrias since she is the only unit in the game that offers on-demand confusion with her Fated Moly attack. Do note that even if the boss is under confusion, the sweeper will still be summoned. The benefit of the confusion method is that you can focus your attacks on the boss so you don't really bother the sweepers as long as you deny their turns. You can try your luck with other confusion units that I mentioned earlier. But I will suggest you to consider this method only if you have Agrias. Now let's proceed with the boss mechanics proper. Like the previous LUFENIA Plus fights, the boss will gain big stats boosts, brave damage, and brave gain reduction auras when you deplete their HP to a certain threshold. The threshold's trigger for this fight is at the start of the fight, 79% HP threshold and 39% HP thresholds. At the start of the fight, it will boost its defense by 200%. At 79% HP threshold, it will further boost the defense to 300%. The maximum brave damage reduction auras is 70%. The maximum brave gain reduction auras are 90%. The boss will also enter into the runaway mode at the 29% HP threshold where it gains 70% attack boost and 20% turn rate up. To handle these auras, having a good support is important. Inflict brave damage up calls like Jack and Sephiroth will help a lot for the fight. As mentioned earlier, defense down calls like Ferris, Titus, and Gabrinth are important so you can be constantly breaking the boss. Units that offer brave capped or rainbow brave damage like Setzer and Core are useful as well. Kate's LD gimmick will allow you to do damage with its 100% critical rate boost along with max brave refund on critical hits. It is indeed a very nice utility to get. The refund will be more powerful depending on the number of the buffs present on your party. If you have resources to pull for his kit, I will highly recommend you to pull for him. He will benefit a lot of the upcoming units as well. I will be now covering the methods in depth. Firstly, let's cover the no confusion strategy, sweep, destroy and sweep. Whenever the threshold is activated, you will see the message prompt calling reinforcements and readying to attack. Upon activation, the boss will summon a sweeper and giving it massive brave battery. If you haven't killed the previous sweeper, when you breach the HP thresholds, the boss will summon another one and heals the current one. The boss will also gain 100% evasion from the effect. This effect can only be removed when one of the following conditions happens. 1. When the sweeper is destroyed, or 2. If the boss use Carpet Bomb. Carpet Bomb will hurt a lot if you don't have any form of damage mitigation. The sweeper is immune to launches and if they gain a turn, they can pull the main boss turn forward. Hence it is best of your interest to destroy them before they could act. Turn spammers and units that could do massive damage and delays are very useful here. Upon destroying a sweeper, other than dispelling the evasion, the boss will also lower their defense and brave damage resistance by 50%. This is a nice compensation for the time spent that you use to destroy the boss. Shelke and Vayne is very useful for this strategy. Lastly, I will cover the confusion method. I have done up a flow chart for your reference. Make sure that the confusion is up whenever you are threading through the HP thresholds. As long as the confusion debuffs are active, the boss won't gain the 100% evasion. Even the boss is confused. When you are approaching the thresholds, the sweeper will still be summoned. To take advantage, you need to use units that have a lot of turn manipulation, launches and/or delay to focus your attacks on the boss while moving the sweeper's turn back. For both methods, the HP thresholds triggers are the same. The sweeper will be summoned at the following HP thresholds: start of the fight, 79%, 59%, 39% and 19%. Do keep in mind of the LUFENIA plus auras and defensive boost that the boss gains. Do take note that if you kill the main boss first, you need to kill the sweeper to end the fight. I have come to the end of my overview. Good luck for the event. Bye.